Hey everyone, I'm now on Volume 2 of the VR Troopers. Let's see, uh, crap, what was the first episode's title? Grimlord's House of Fear. Sounds like a cool title. And also, finally getting off of Season 1, I'm on to Season 2, Season 1, Volume 2. So, yeah, all new episodes, kind of. Unfortunately, the tone hasn't really changed. Not a big leap in quality from Volume 1 to Volume 2. I'm guessing, like, these are probably made all around the same time. The quality probably doesn't change all that much until Season 2. So, yeah, kinda disappointing. I know Season 2 gets better, because those are the episodes I remember watching the most, and I really enjoyed them the most. I remember more about them. These season 1 episodes are really, really rough. Not liking this as much as I thought I would. When I started Ninja Storm, I figured at the same time as Ninja Storm, I'll do VR Troopers, and I'll go through all the other Saban American Tokusatsu shows, and that'll be cool because I'll still get to be able to watch the old Saban stuff I love at the same time as the Disney stuff that I'm not quite as nostalgic for, but I still enjoy. And I'm not really liking VR Troopers so far. And Ninja Storm, I'm finding I don't really like it as much as I remember. At one point, I would have said Ninja Storm was one of my favorite seasons, and I guess it still is. Like, definitely one of my favorite Disney seasons, but yeah. I don't know. It didn't age very well for me, I guess. There's just too much awkward stuff going on, weirdness, and it feels like at this point in Power Rangers, the writers should have, or well, it has all new writers. It's one of the problems with Power Rangers is they keep switching out the writers, so we have to keep seeing them relearn how to do this show that's decades old. Anyway, back to VR Troopers. The first thing I noticed when I started watching this VR Troopers episode is I'm really getting sick of the theme song. I was never really that big of a fan of the VR Troopers theme song. I think, let's see, the actors once said that they thought the demo pilot for VR Troopers, they should have used the theme song from that. Yeah, it's definitely easier on the ears. So anyway, this episode, Grimlord's House of Fear, starts off with the troopers checking out a supposedly haunted house. Caitlin is planning on writing a story about it. Jeb is scared of it and stays in the car. It's a cute little character moment, I guess. This kid, Manuel, shows up. He wants to get a picture of the ghosts. So the troopers are skeptical that any actual ghosts exist, but it turns out that the house is actually part of Grimlord's latest evil plan. The ghost that people are seeing is actually one of Icebot's robots materializing between the reality barriers. And that's something I haven't mentioned much, is the reality barriers and all the technobabble in VR Troopers. The plot to this kind of threw me, because VR Troopers has rules for its world, kinda, but they're really shaky, really loose. Like, and one of the big reasons is because they don't know what the words are that they're using usually, like virtual reality. When they say virtual reality, they don't mean real world virtual reality, they mean alternate dimensions. They just call it virtual reality because they think it sounds really cool. But anyway, the plot here is that, or actually, I'll just explain it when I get to it. At the newspaper, Caitlin tells Woody about the haunted house, and Woody insists that she get a photo of the ghost. And then there's some shenanigans with Percy and a vacuum cleaner. Alright, whatever. So then, here's what's going on with Icebot and his robot. Icebot's trying to send his robot through the reality barrier using a cyber beam. The cyber beam allows him to go through the reality barrier into the trooper's reality and then create a robot on that side, which makes it so they don't have to send a robot through the reality barrier from their dimension. and apparently this is easier or something. Like I said, the rules in VR Troopers are usually very loose and shaky, but this episode treats like the rules of their world like they're very solid and have always made sense, and the simple fact is they haven't. A lot of VR Troopers doesn't make any sense. So yeah, this episode trying so hard to make sense just kind of emphasizes that most of it doesn't make sense. Anyway, um so anyway, Icebot's trying to send the cyber beam through this house, which is where the reality barrier is weakest, I guess, and also it's secluded. Nobody can really see what's going on in there, except people do, because they think it's haunted. So, let's see. I feel like I'm saying let's see a lot. The cyber beam is making stuff float around because the stuff will form into the monster. So then he manages to send this green goo in, which is the final thing they need to complete the monster that he's making, Vacbot. And let's see, Manuel happens to be trying to photograph the thing, and let's see, he gets the picture, he calls Caitlin, and then he's like, oh, the picture didn't develop right, I gotta go back. So then he goes back to the house, and I was thinking, oh, Caitlin's gonna get to wherever he said to meet her, and he's not gonna be there. No, she goes to the house and bumps into him. What was the point of the false tension there? I don't get it. So he gets the picture, Caitlin looks at it, and she recognizes it as one of Grimlord's monsters. Oh, and before this, she runs into some skugs. I guess the episode was running low or something. So then Manuel gives her the new pictures. She recognizes it as one of Grimlord's robots. She sends Manuel back to the newspaper place, and then she goes to get help from JB and Ryan. They go to Hart's lab. He shows them Icebot's robot Vacbot and Icebot's Ice Castle Sky ship, which for some reason this auto-corrected to shop. Ship's a word. Ship is a word. Stupid autocorrect. Whatever. Ryan decides to take out the sky ship. Ryan decides to take out the Ice Castle sky ship while JB and Ryan battle Vacbot because Spielbahn is where his footage came from. Ryan destroys the Ice Castle and JB defeats Vacbot, and I don't know where Caitlin went. She just kind of disappears for a while. So then at the end, Manuel comes to see Caitlin at the newspaper. Percy sees Manuel, and he's all upset that a kid far younger than him is getting recognition as a photographer, while he's stuck just with janitorial duties. And then Jeb walks up the stairs and dumps a bucket of water on Percy's head. It's a little better than Percy's things in the past couple of episodes, but the biggest thing I have to wonder is why isn't Percy the photographer? Usually Percy is a photographer, or Caitlin. Like, what's stopping Percy from going to get pictures of the ghost? All I could guess is, I guess the newspaper has, like, rotating chore jobs, and now it's, like, Percy's turn to clean up the place or something? There's like there's no reason given for why he's doing this and not actually doing journalistic things. Like, it's not like he's been a bad journalist. Like, anything bad associated with like him and his work has been like barely implied. Then again, we don't usually get to see like the actual work like stuff going whatever back to the actual interesting stuff. This episode is fine. The weirdest thing is why was Percy stuck doing the stupid cleaning gag stuff back at the newspaper place? It seems like Percy trying to get a picture of a ghost, seeing stuff fly around like it was doing in the house earlier. There's genuine comedy you could easily get out of that. It's so strange. I'm wondering, did the writers just not like Percy and they wanted to do their best to keep him out of whatever the main plot was? Because you could very easily just get rid of Manuel entirely and use Percy. I don't get it. Did they not want people to get too attached to Percy because they know that he's the butt monkey character that bad stuff is going to happen to because bad stuff has to happen to somebody? I mean, at least he kind of deserves it for, like, he goes off on Manuel about, like, you're just a little kid, and, like, I'm the professional here, and blah, 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 and then Jeb dumps the water on his head, and, like, and I saw this, like, happening in a couple other episodes prior to this one, where earlier on, when Percy first shows up, bad stuff happens to him, like, unprovoked. There's no reason for this. Like, he's just minding his own business, something bad happens to him for no reason. And then later on, I guess the writers started to realize, oh, that kind of makes, Jeb look bad, or Percy look really pathetic. So let's change it to Percy has to do something to deserve something bad happening to him, but that leads to Percy either acting out of character or just doing something completely unexplained, like janitorial work. Why? I don't get it. It would be so easy for them, too, to add in a line saying that, like, he can't be the photographer this time because he has to do the janitorial thing because rotating jobs or whatever. I feel like I've been going on for this way too long anyway. Grimlord's plan this time is pretty good, considering, like, how it's done. The cyber beam penetrates the reality barrier to create a robot outside virtual reality, which means they don't have to go through the trouble of sending the robot or monster or whatever through the reality barrier, which is apparently hard now. They're not really consistent with how exactly the reality barrier works, so whatever. Let's see. Oh yeah, the house. The only reason that there's a house is because in Spielbahn there's a fight scene with the monster that partially takes place in a house. That's it. This whole episode was built around a single fight scene that the writers happened to see, I guess. Maybe there's other parallels. Eventually, when I get around to watching Spielbahn subtitled, maybe I can, like, piece together, oh, so that's where that idea came from, but as it is, it looks like, yeah, this whole episode is written around this few seconds long fight scene. Which is fine, they gotta use as much of the fight scenes as they possibly can, because they can't recreate the monster suits, because they're so old at the point this was being filmed. But yeah, it works. Like, a haunted house is kind of a unique idea. Oh yeah, the weirdest thing here is there's a parallel between the monster and Percy. Early on, Percy is seen vacuuming, and then shenanigans happen with the vacuum cleaner. The monster sucks up stuff from around the house to create its body, including a vacuum cleaner that looks a lot like the one Percy has. And it made me wonder, was there originally a completely different idea for this episode? Like, were they going to mix in footage of the American vacuum cleaner with this monster footage? All I can guess is maybe they just couldn't figure it out or whatever, so they just dropped it, but they had the vacuum cleaner, so they were like, give it to Percy, have him do something with it. Or maybe Percy and the vacuum cleaner was part of that episode. It's a pretty weird vacuum cleaner. He, like, takes the end of it off, and instead of sucking stuff in, like a vacuum should do, it blows air out and blows stuff all over the place. That's not quite normal for a vacuum cleaner. So it makes me wonder, was the original plot something like, I don't know, Grimlord has a robot that turns into a vacuum cleaner, or the vacuum cleaner is turning into the robot, like it's transforming. So, like, when Percy's using it and it's going crazy, was that supposed to be, like, the monster trying to force a transformation from the vacuum cleaner to its final robot form? That'd be pretty interesting. And it would make a lot more sense than, like, how the episode actually plays out, where Kaylin's at the newspaper, she leaves, then the camera, like, just hangs around the newspaper place to focus on Percy screwing around with a vacuum cleaner. It doesn't really do anything except for establish that Percy is cleaning today for some reason that they don't explain why. Um, Not a whole else to say about this one, so I'll end it here. Hope you enjoyed this. See ya.